Hello everyone. I am in some creek bottoms right on the border of southern Hughes County, right where it joins Cole County, in some creek bottoms, looking around to see if I can find anything of interest. And before I started shooting this, I realized this is the 100th video that I've made for my YouTube channel, so I guess that should mark kind of a special occasion. So with that in mind, I want to just say thank you to everyone who has watched and supported this channel from the first and subscribed. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do, because I'll keep making these videos as long as folks find them interesting. So that, just thank you. So what to talk about today? Well, I don't have a sighting per se, but I got on one of the comments of one of my videos, I had a gentleman make some comments about the documentary that I took part in back like 21 years ago called Bigfootville for the Travel Channel, and he asked me to comment on that a little bit, and particularly a couple of happenings that were on that documentary, and make some comments about it. So I thought I'll do that. I've threatened to for a while, but I'll just talk about that for a little bit. But anyway, back in 2001, this would have been late summer, I had a website called southernbigfoot.com. Back then there wasn't really much as far as videos and stuff going on the internet. But I got an email from a gentleman from the UK named Bruce Burgess, wanting to know if I would help him on a project he wanted to do, and he wanted to do something about Bigfoot sightings in Oklahoma. He found my website and sent me that email. So I said, yeah, sure, be glad to. So Bruce, what he did, he flew over from England to the United States, come down to Oklahoma and met with me. And we took about a 2 or 3 day trip, just me and him, from central Oklahoma down to the southeast corner of Oklahoma, all the way to Grand Lake in the northeast corner of Oklahoma. And what that trip was is Bruce was just getting a lay of the land kind of, and some ideas about where to shoot. So fast forward a couple of months or so, late November, Bruce came back with a film crew which consisted of 2 cameramen, a sound man, another producer. He had recruited a news lady from Tulsa, Cindy Bear, and these are all names that are in the documentary. For those of y'all who have seen Bigfootville, you know what I'm talking about here. And also introduced him to a good friend of mine from Ada named Tim Harjo, who is the Native American gentleman, and his son Kanjat, which are both on the play a big part in the documentary as well. Sadly, my friend Tim, he passed away last November from complications of COVID, and I missed the guy. He was a super guy. But anyway, they came down with their film crew, so we met at my shop in Ada, and we just went different places interviewing people that I had introduced them to, and to tell their story. It was a lot of fun. One of the fun things about it, there was a cameraman named Martin, and he was about my size, which is not a big guy at all. But Martin, he had this habit of wherever we were at, he would ask the biggest person there if they'd want to arm wrestle. And he had the game warden that's on the film, Mike Virgin, I believe his name is, down in Broken Bow. Mike took him up on the arm wrestling match, and Mike's a big guy, and he actually beat Martin, but it was a lot of fun to watch. We went down to Broken Bow to my friend Dr. Lewis Stiles, his home, and he welcomed everybody, and he had some dancers from the Choctaw Nation come to his place and do one of their traditional dances around a bonfire that he had built in the woods behind his house. And you'll see that segment is the very end of the production. And just to mention everyone involved, I wasn't involved in all of the people that were in there, because they there were parts where, say, they would be filming with me, and then another part of the crew would go off somewhere else to do some things as well. Now, we met up with some folks up at Grand Lake, and this is the incident that the individual that made the comment asked me to say something about in particular. There's a part on the documentary Bigfootville when we're up at Grand Lake of the Cherokees, which is up in the northeast corner of the state, and we're down in these river bottoms where these two police officers had an encounter with a Sasquatch, which I'd investigated in depth and been in that area many times looking into that. And we were there with this film crew, with the officer named Dan Belda, and I think the other guy's name was like Jeff. I can't remember his last name right now, but Dan and Jeff were their names. And there was a part where Cindy Bear, the news lady, and some of the others noticed something up on the ridge. They had really good night vision, the camera crew did. They noticed a figure up the ridge, and this is really high, a high ridge there that was swaying back and forth between some trees. And he asked me to comment on that. I didn't see that, okay? That was, I believe, Cindy saw that figure, and I believe Dan did up on the ridge. I did not see it. I looked for it, but I didn't. So that was only witnessed by Cindy and Dan. Maybe Jeff saw it. I can't remember. And there were some rocks, some small rocks that were being thrown down toward us. Some of these rocks, and they were just small pebbles, were thrown from a very short distance, and close enough that I was suspicious at first that could have been done by one of the people in the crew that were there. However, later, after everything was said and done, the thing was finished, I asked Bruce, I said, okay, Bruce, were any of you guys throwing those pebbles into our proximity there? And his words to me were, no, we weren't. And he said, if we were, by this time we would have come clean on it. So that was the explanation on the rock throwing. Did not see what was throwing the rocks or what, but they were coming from a close distance in the woods. Now, keeping in mind, those woods are very dense down there, even in the winter, which it was at this time. In the summertime, it is extremely dense, but even in the winter, even without the leaves and stuff on the trees, it's still very thick. Now on to the other, and I have spent so much time over the years since then explaining this incident to people. I was very happy with the final production of Bigfootville. The one thing I asked Bruce as a condition that I would help him, I said, just do not purposefully make anybody that I introduce you to look stupid. I said, if they make themselves look stupid, that's on them. But don't edit anything where they look bad. So I think he did a good job on that. This one part I wish they had done different, because there is a scene where the off-duty officer, which his name was Dan, is shown firing his sidearm into the woods. Now, I wish there'd have been some explanation behind that, because a lot of people have said, oh man, that guy was practicing very poor gun safety, just firing blindly in the woods like he was. Well, let me clear this up. He was not firing blindly into the woods. He wasn't shooting at anything. No one was in any danger whatsoever. So for explanation for that incident, when these two off-duty police officers had their encounter, they had been target practicing earlier that evening by shooting at targets that they had on this large mound of dirt that was at the bottom of this ridge that came down. It's like a berm, and that's what they had been target practicing in. The producer asked Dan, he said, would you mind firing a couple of rounds into that berm so I could record it? And Dan was like, sure, I'll do that. So what you are seeing is Dan firing a couple of rounds from his handgun into that same berm that you can't really see in the edit there. So put that to rest. This gentleman was not shooting at anything. He was not practicing poor firearm safety. He was shooting into a large mound of dirt. No one was near it, and no one was in any danger. So I hope that clears that up. That's the one part on that documentary I wish had come with some explanation on that. So anyway, I hope that puts that to rest, anyone who has a question on that. So how long did it take to make this documentary Bigfootville? Counting when Bruce come down, just 2 or 3 days, he and I on a road trip, scouting out locations. There was that, and then the crew spent about a week on the road. Like I said, I wasn't present for a lot of it. There was the part you see me on. One very interesting part was when we were camping in that ice storm. And I'll tell you something about that. It got really cold up there. This was in the Kiamichi Mountains. We had rented a cabin, and they had put these cameras out in the woods, and one of the cameramen, I think his name was David, he just about got hypothermia because he was outside on the deck getting some night film and just about got too cold. But just fun fact, the part on that where it shows the camera panning around the mountains and you're seeing the ice storm, I actually got to shoot that. And they had actually handed me the camera and asked me to shoot that, and I said, well, you know, this looks very expensive. How expensive is this? And they told me it's about a $100,000 camera, so that's about the most expensive thing I've ever held in my hand. And I said, I can't hold this. What if I break it? And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. We've got it insured. And the camera guy said he had ran over one accidentally trying to get out of a war zone in Central Africa a few months before that. So what we were doing did not seem dangerous to him at all. So we went to there, we went to Grand Lake, and then the end of it, well, and of course there was the part where Tim Harjo and his son Kanjat are up on a mountain doing some filming there as well, where Tim utters that famous line on it, "Do you smell that? Stink." So if you so Tim and I, we laughed about that a lot after that, because and the reason we was laughing about it is my children, who are grown up now, were very small at that time, and my son Elijah, he was like, let's see, how old would he have been? 5 or 6 years old. He had run through the house and he would recite that same line that Tim said right then. So we had a real good time with it. Would I do it again? I'll say this, I would work with Bruce again. I thought he treated us all very fairly. The crew and all the producers, they were very nice. They were respectful towards the people that we met. One of the producers, by the way, had grown up in Stigler, Oklahoma, and she was residing in Los Angeles at the time. So the end of that was we went back. We ended up at Wewoka at a tribal, I believe, Seminole tribal elders home, and that's the final interview, which was between Tim Harjo and that tribal elder gentleman. And at that point I didn't stay for all that because I wasn't involved in it, and I was, to be honest, I was exhausted and ready to go home. But one of the funny things there is, before I left, this little boy at this tribal elders home that was there comes running up to Tim, and he said, "Hey, there's a white guy talking to a tree over there." And I thought, what in the world? And what it was, this was at night, and Martin, the cameraman, had gone over to a little cedar tree, and he had put his camera between the limbs of that cedar tree, and he was talking into it. Now that is the part on the documentary where Martin is giving his thoughts on some of the things. So this little boy, when he comes over there and sees it, he doesn't see the camera in the dark. All he sees is Martin talking in that direction, and he comes over and says, "Hey, there's a white guy talking to that tree." So now you know the story behind that. So anyway, like I said, I would work with Bruce again. I would be very hesitant to work on what's been passing as Bigfoot documentaries lately, because I see a lot of stuff that's more, I think, for show than anything, and I'm not going to call anything out there. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about if you watch a lot of them, but I felt like they did treat it like an actual documentary. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Bigfootville. And hey, one more thing, my book, my second book, my first book, the Shampe, which is available on Amazon in ebook and paperback, still out there, still selling well. But I have completed my second book, which is about all of that. It's about the last 25 plus years of investigations that I've done into the Bigfoot mystery, some of the cases that have been ongoing for a long time that I share in that. And a lot of these things that I mentioned here about the Bigfootville documentary, I talk about in detail in this book. And I've okayed the draft, all of that stuff. I'm waiting on the cover art to come back, and as soon as that's in, it will be published to Amazon. And like I say, in that one, I detail a lot of the investigations and such that I've taken part in, including the Bigfootville documentary. Once again, this is video number 100. Thank you very much for your support, and if you haven't already, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to go and explore the rest of these creek bottoms here and see what I can find. So until next time, you guys take care.